now the first thing Lori Lightfoot does is go into the bank accounts and says, okay, how much money did we have when we started? How much money do we have now? This slide shows you that when Hinyard started, she had about $5.5 million in the bank as of April 2022, and as of May 2024, they lost essentially $8 to $9 million. They lost $9 million, where now they are $3.65 million in the hole. What happened to that money? Here's Lori Lightfoot.
Is a graphic that depicts where we started as of April, where the village started as of April of 22, with positive of $5.6 million in the general fund, and where we are as of May of 2024, which is a negative $3.65 million.
Mayor Lightfoot, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Just kind of as a summary now, just quick numbers. So in a 2-year span, we're talking about a $9 million swing or $9 million of deficit over that course of time. Would that be most accurate?
Yes, sir.
So now Lightfoot's team had to figure out if this was because they were getting less money in, let's say, tax revenue, or was it because spending was going out of control? So here's Lori Lightfoot explaining that it wasn't because you weren't getting less money, it was because you guys started spending like insano.
Again, as you see in the graph on the blue bars, the revenues have remained relatively the same over that time period, just over $24 million, while expenditures have climbed from $23 million in 2022 to $30 million in 2024. Ultimately, in fiscal years 2023 and 2024, expenditures exceeded revenue. Specifically in 2024, it was over $5 million more in expenditures than revenues.
Now, the numbers don't lie. When Hinyard first got in there in fiscal year 2022, $24 million came in, they were spending $23 million and had $1 million overage. Now, in 2024, they actually have more money coming in, $24.6 million, but they're spending $30 million. So where is that money going? How come when Hinyard got in there, they suddenly had this huge budget deficit every year? Essentially $5 million of more money. So your next question is, well, where the hell is all this money going? Well, it's going to a couple of people. First, we got to talk about the police department, because it seems like they're being paid off massively. There is massive police corruption. First, let's start with the officers who are being paid more in overtime than their base salary.
We wanted to highlight for you, particularly given overtime, what we saw as two outliers in officers, Officer Terry Young and Officer William Reed. Both of these individuals in the last 2 years have earned more in overtime than their base compensation.
To show you how much money that is for a patrol officer, the governor of Illinois, his salary is $184,000 a year. These officers are making more than the governor of the state. Think about that, people. 2 cops, patrol officers, in a town of 20,000 people are making more money than the governor of the state of Illinois. And no one said, that's a little fishy. Now, the name Terry Young. Terry Young is the officer who was exposed a year ago for questionable, and I'm going to say questionable, overtime usage. Watch the report again.
Officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours. But when they're put on Hinyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
How? How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible. That's impossible.
336
Does he never go to sleep?
In fact, there are 336 hours total in 2 weeks, meaning Young was not being paid for only 33 hours over that period.
Yeah, in a full 2-week period, it's only 336 hours. He got paid for 303 hours. That's impossible. It's obvious corruption. It's obvious corruption. And that's why he's on this report. And that's why this town seems to be millions of dollars in the hole. But I also have to mention the police chief, who is not eligible for overtime. Guess what he's getting? Massive amounts of overtime.